Hi guys, it's Kia and you're watching Life with Kia. So as you can tell by the title, this is going to be my induction birth story for 2021. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So first things first, I have notes right here just because mom brain is real, and since my baby boy was born over 4 months ago, I had to write it all down, so I made sure I didn't forget anything. So grab a snack, get your drink of choice, and sit down because it's going to be a long one. So first things first, I found I was pregnant in October of last year of 2020, and we were so excited. I surprised my husband, and pregnancy literally was smooth sailing. It was more so the first trimester. I was super sick. I had to take PTO off of work. I literally could not do it. I also had a bunch of food aversions, but that's for a whole nother video. If you want me to go in depth of my pregnancy story, I can do that. So he was delivered at 41 weeks and 5 days. Exactly. So at around 40 weeks, or at around 39 weeks, my doctor was like, okay, Takia, do you want to go ahead and schedule an induction for, I think she said like later that week or something like that. And I was like, I'm not sure. I really want to go to 40 weeks, and at least 40 weeks just to see. And I want to go as long as I can without, to see if he's going to come naturally. And y'all, in that time between when I had my scheduled induction to the time of the appointment, I literally tried everything. I was walking all the time with my husband. I tried eggplants because that's supposed to be like a natural way to stimulate uterine contractions. I even tried this mother's brew tea that everybody talked about. Nothing worked, y'all. Nothing worked. And I was so discouraged at 40 weeks. The week of 40 weeks, like 40 weeks to 41 weeks, I was so distraught. I was just like, I'm just ready for the baby to come. I just want him to come now. I want to hold him in my arms. I have my bassinet ready. I have all the clothes washed. I have my bags packed. I was so ready. Nothing. Like I was fingertip, like my cervix was closed basically. It was like a finger, they could only get a fingertip in there, not even a full finger. So I just gave in, and I was like, you know what, let's just, if he needs a little boost, okay, it's nothing wrong with that. So walked into the doctor's appointment. I wish I had a picture or like a video. I think I have one picture, but it's like a weird selfie of the day that I actually went in for my induction. So due to like COVID regulations, I was scared that I could only have one person, and that was my husband. He is amazing, but sometimes you want your mother, and like she's a nurse as well, so someone could look after me, and then someone could look after the baby. So we went in, and I was signed in, and she said that, oh, okay, so you can have 2 guests now. And I was like, thank you, God. And I called my mom, and she was like, great, I'm on my way. Okay. That morning at around, I think we had to be there at 7 a.m. and at 8 a.m. we started Pitocin. And at the end of the day, I was having minor period-like cramps, but literally no movement. So on that day, no movement whatsoever. Or not no movement, no progression. So at 6 p.m. the doctor came in, she checked me. I was maybe 2 centimeters, and she was like, she said, there are 2 routes we can do. She said, one, we can stop and rest tonight, and I can give you Cervidil, which is a pill that's inserted near the cervix to help soften, and then we can restart in the morning. She said, we can do that, or I can break your water because you're already 2 centimeters. I can break your water, and then we can just have the baby tonight. And I was like, I'm kind of, and at this point, I had gone from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. with no food, just popsicles, just water, clear liquid diet, basically. And I was just like, I feel like we should stop because I'm tired. I literally would not have the energy to push or do anything. So that night, I was able to eat. My husband went and got me some food, so I was so happy. Okay, and then fast forward to that night at around, I think 12 a.m. they put in the Cervidil. And also overnight, I don't remember if it was during the Cervidil or right before, but I remember that in the middle of the night, I guess baby boy wasn't moving as much, so the nurse kept turning me from the side or the other side, and they also put oxygen on me. I'm pretty sure it's because drop in, or maybe I was laying a certain way and I wasn't getting enough oxygen to baby through the umbilical cord. Either way, he came out fine, thank God. But they only left the oxygen on maybe 30 minutes to an hour, and then got the Cervidil. That was in for 4 hours. They checked me. I believe I was still at 2 centimeters, but I think they said that it had softened up a lot more. So that morning at around 5 a.m., I was woken up by very painful contractions. And I was just like, okay, what is this? And this was just with the Cervidil, no Pitocin. And then I told my nurse, like, hey, I'm feeling like contractions, like it's hurting a little bit, but I can, withstand it. And my mom had went home, so it was just me and my husband at this point. And she was on her way back. And so at around 8 a.m., I was still having the contractions. They were like coming and going maybe every 2 minutes. And I think the anesthesiologist came in, or the anesthesiologist assistant came in and asked if I wanted epidural. And I was like, well, no, I'm not against epidural, but I want to go as far as I can without it. I don't really think I need it right now. It's painful, but nothing that I can't, bear. Okay, fast forward to 10 a.m., literally 2 hours later. I literally was screaming to my mother, like, please tell the nurse to come in. Like, I literally can't take this anymore. The contractions coupled with Pitocin, because I think at around 8 a.m., they started Pitocin back, but they started on the lowest dose, which is like 2. And so the Cervidil coupled with Pitocin at the lowest dose, after being on that for 2 hours, my contractions were literally maybe a minute apart, probably less than that. And they were strong, like it felt like, it's literally so hard to explain how extremely excruciatingly painful it was. It was. And I said, and it's hard to compare stories or compare experiences between different moms, because everybody's story is so different. But it was excruciating. And after getting the epidural and sitting through that epidural, you have to sit in a position like this. And my nurse was holding my hands, and my husband was right to the side of me, so he didn't have to leave, thank God. And sitting through an epidural was so terrifying. But I got my epidural, and the cool thing about it was a Black woman, a woman of color, and she was very reassuring. The anesthesiologist she was very reassuring, very helpful. She was very efficient, very quick moving, and I loved her. I was like, thank you so much. When I tell you that was the best decision, I was like, thank God for the person who made epidurals. Because when I said it went from pain of 10 out of 10 to zilch, like I didn't feel anything. So over the span of the day, I went from 2 centimeters to 4 centimeters to 6 centimeters to 8 centimeters. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to be baby boy. I'm not really sure around what time that was. I think it was around shift change time. And leading up to this point, shift change, for you all who do not know, in the hospital, nurses have shifts of 12 hours. So they work from like 6 a.m. to like 6:45 to 6:45. At least that's what my hospital did. So around 7 p.m. you get a whole new shift of people, nurses to be exact. And it was kind of like, so this is my second day being in the hospital. And I went through, this is my 4th nurse that having in the hospital. Prior to this, all my nurses were like very good. I loved them. No bad word, like no bad experience whatsoever. However, at shift change, this nurse had a really arrogancy to her, an arrogant personality to her, which my husband was the first one to notice this. But me, I was like epidural was starting to wear off a little bit, and I was kind of just ready to have a baby. Like, I'm ready to see my son. I'm kind of still like in pain, uncomfortable, all that. Nerves are picking up because I'm not really sure how everything is going to go. So at around 9, when I hit 9 centimeters, she said, okay, you're at 9 centimeters, you're not at 10 yet, but it's close, and you'll probably be having your baby today. I was like, oh, great, I'm so excited. And so she said, if you start to feel a lot of pressure, call light and just let me know. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And after a while, maybe an hour, 30 minutes to an hour, I feel a lot of pressure. When people say it feels like you're making a big bowel movement, that's literally what it feels like. It's the most surreal feeling ever. It's just like a bunch of pressure down in like your pelvic area. So I pressed the call out. I'm like, hey, I'm feeling a bunch of pressure. So she checks me and she said, okay, you're 10 centimeters. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm about to have this baby. Like, I'm ready. After she comes in and tells me that I'm 10 centimeters, I'm excited. And she said she calls the doctor and she comes back, and then my nurse, begins to have me to push. And so I'm laying on my back. I'm doing she was like, 1, 2, 3, push, take a deep breath, push, take a deep breath, push. So I did that 3 times. I don't even know how many times I pushed, but I know it was for a span of an hour. Mind you, the doctor's not here yet. So I'm pushing, and I feel her. Okay, this is explicit, kinda. But this is more of my story. Okay, so this is kind of explicit. I feel her using her finger and like doing this. I feel this, her doing this in my vagina, like the opening. And it doesn't hurt, obviously, because I have an epidural plus, all this pressure. But I feel it, and I have my husband on this leg, he's holding it. I have my mom on this leg, she's holding it. And it's just me, my mom, my husband, and the nurse. And I'm pushing, and I'm using all my muscles, all my strength, and I just feel hot liquid coming out. At this time, I'm just thinking, okay, it's I don't know what I thought it was. I just was like, okay, is he out yet? Did you see his head? Like, what's going? So she tells me to hold, and then around this time, the doctor comes in, and she comes in and she watches me push, and she's like, oh, those are really good pushes, Kia. And she said, but he's not down as far as I would like him to be. So I want you to stop pushing right now, and we'll reconvene in about 30 minutes. And then she also wanted the nurse, to turn up my Pitocin to about a 4 to help really bring on those contractions in order for me to feel them and have the urge to push. Because the reason for Pitocin with inducing a labor is to help bring those strong contractions, and they're man-made they're not natural contractions. Well, your body is naturally having them, but they're unnaturally produced. And then at this point, also, my epidural is wearing out. So I'm feeling some stuff, and I'm just like, nurse, I'm feeling something. And I was like, oh, I really don't want the Pitocin to be turned up, because like I'm in pain and they're hurting me. It's like excruciating. So when the doctor leaves out, she leans in, and mind you, she knows that I'm a nurse, and she knows that my mom's a nurse. And she leans in and she was like, can I tell y'all something? And I was like, yes. Mind you, I'm on my back after pushing for an hour. She's telling me all this. I was like, yeah, what is it? And she said, yeah, my doctor, talking about my doctor, she just wanted the baby to be at the point of falling out, and she's just very impatient. And I'm sitting here like, okay, how does this benefit me right now? Like, okay, if the baby's not ready to come out, the baby's not ready to come out. And then at this point, another nurse peeps her head in, is like, hey, Dr. So-and-so wants to remind you to turn up the Pitocin up a notch. And the nurse, in my presence, and in my mom's presence, and in my husband's presence, says, no, I'm not turning up. She's in pain. And the nurse at the door is like, okay, I'm just letting you know what she says. Which also kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and my mother, because being nurses, and I'm not a maternity nurse or like a mom baby nurse, nor is my mother, but we're nurses. We know etiquette as a nurse, and or professionalism as a nurse, and that was not it at all. At that moment, I really don't remember what I felt, because in the zone, when you're on the bed trying to get your baby out safely, you can kind of feel rushed or pulled this way, ask so many questions, and you're still trying to be in the zone, and you're still trying to maintain like a peace or calmness, and not freak out. And I don't really remember how I was feeling when she said that, but I was kind of like, that's the doctor. You're the nurse. The nurse is to safely take out instructions from the doctor, So that was a whole nother story. Okay, so we're gonna fast forward to when I'm pushing and the baby is delivered. Yay! So prior to the delivery, I specifically told my mom, I said, I want you to capture a video. The video that people show. I didn't want it for Instagram or for YouTube. I wanted it for my personal, memories. Because I love to go back and look at videos and pictures of my life. And she was like, okay, I got you. I got it. I said, not of my area down there. I want when the baby is lifted up, wiped off, and placed on my chest, and I get that first interaction, I want that recorded. She said, got it. And so the baby's pushed out, and we're all waiting. My mom's recording. We're waiting for her to cry. We're waiting for her. And literal, when I say it's starch quiet in there, all you hear is and as a nurse, especially like me being a pediatric nurse and being fresh out of school, that was probably one of the worst sounds that you want to hear. Well, in my opinion, because that's my child. So I know, okay, he has fluid in his lungs. They need to be suctioning him out. All of this is on video that my mom is videoing. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, oh my God. Like, you see me in the video, like, I'm just like, oh my God, I'm tired. My lips are dry. I'm literally so thirsty, so tired. And to hear that, it literally, like, my heart literally dropped into my stomach. But thankfully, they brought him over to the side, and the nurses worked so diligently. Like, they was wiping him up, and I was like, Rockman, like, don't worry about me. Go go take care of our baby. Take care of our baby. Look after our baby. Make sure he's okay. And they're wiping him up, and this is from what my husband told me, is that they said, oh, should we call it code blue? No, not a code blue. We're going to call a code white. And I later realized a code white is when a baby is in distress. A code blue is when a baby is not breathing. Or, like not breathing. So code white is like when a baby is in distress and they just need a little bit more help. So a neonatologist, which is a baby who specializes in neonates or newborns, they come in and they help. So a neonatologist came in and a respiratory therapist came in. And surprisingly enough, the respiratory therapist was Rockman's cousin, which Rockman is my husband, his cousin. So like, I hear him saying, hey, cuz. I'm like, what? It's so crazy. But so they're getting taken care of, and the doctor and both of them were people of color, Black people. The doctor was, and the respiratory therapist. So that was amazing, just to see, representation in the hospital. And then so they wrapped him up. They told me his weight. He was 9 pounds, 1.5 ounces, and 22.5 pounds. I mean, inches long. And they said he was just crossing his legs and looking. I just was so happy. So my husband got to hold him because I was still on the bed, because I feel like it was because he was big, and then his head, it was big as well, and they had to use forceps or like the vacuum, and then they had to give me a episiotomy, which is a cut, and I also tore it. So a lot of stuff down there. It took them an hour, and when I say an hour, he was delivered at 11:40, and I held him at 12:40. It took a complete hour for them to stitch me up, and I didn't really feel it, but it was just like all the pressure was a lot. And then to know like that my baby was in distress and that I wasn't the first one to hold him and I didn't get the video, and it was just like, what is going on? Okay, so after that, after I was stitched up, you have to stay in the delivery room 2 hours for monitoring before you go up to the postpartum floor. And after I was stitched up, I was able to hold baby boy, met him. I have a whole video on that, and I cried because like just the whole thing was kind of traumatic. Not kind of, it was traumatic to me. And he had to go up to the nursery for like 30 minutes to get checked out because he was in distress. And my husband went upstairs with him and my mom stayed with me. So after that, I told my mom, I said, Mom, I just don't feel right. Something doesn't feel right. Like, I don't know what it is, but something does not feel right. And they were taking my blood pressures. My blood pressure was dropping. It dropped to 80/50. Mind you, the regular blood pressure for, my regular blood pressure was like 110 over like 80 something or 70. The standard is like 120 over 80. That's like the standard, well, that we're taught in school. And so mine is 80/50. And I didn't tell you this. While I was during delivery, I lost a total of 2 liters of blood. 1 liter of blood. But that does not even count the amount of blood that I lost when I was pushing with my nurse for that hour before he was even delivered. So I pushed for a total of maybe 2 hours. It was very, very tiring. Oh my gosh. But I would do it all over again for my baby boy. So after they were monitoring me, they found out that my blood pressure was low. I was able to drink more water and hydrate and eat something. And my blood pressure started going up a little bit, but not back to my normal. So baby boy came back to me when I was still in the delivery room, and I held him, I breastfed him for the first time. He latched like a champ. So thankful about that. And he was literally just staring at me, and it was just the most beautiful thing. I was so excited. So we got all of our stuff, and I got into the wheelchair. My nurse wheeled me up to the postpartum floor. And I met my nurse, sweet old little lady. And she was just like, hey, do you want to go to the bathroom since you're already in the wheelchair? We can wheel you to the restroom so you don't have to stand up right now because I had the epidural. And the epidural was wearing off. But you still have to be careful because they don't want you to faint or fall. So we get to the bathroom, and I stood up, not too fast, but I stood up out the wheelchair in front of the toilet. And I told her, I was like, I just feel like I don't feel right. And literally all I know is I was on the toilet, and I was like, my nurse was right here, and I was just on the toilet like, huh? And I like wake up like, what's going on? My mom said her heart sunk because she was sitting like diagonal from the bathroom, and the bathroom door was open, and she said she literally heard the thump, and she saw me like this, like my arm was just dangling. I cannot imagine that image. But I used the restroom, got up, got to the bed, and I was like, yeah, like my heart feel like it's fluttering. Like I just feel not good. And my heart rate was high. It was like in the 112s, and yeah, not good. So then after I told my nurse that night, I was like, hey, are we going to do anything for the blood pressures because they're so low and my heart rate is high? And then I'm feeling like lightheaded. I was feeling lightheaded, and like when they discharged me, like, am I going to do anything because my blood pressure is not normally this low? And she said, okay, well, let me call the doctor. My doctor, since I was symptomatic, so I had those symptoms of fainting, feeling lightheaded, and like fluttering of my heart, she gave me 2 units of blood. So I got blood in the postpartum unit. And after that, I literally felt like a champ. I was like, great, I can conquer the world. Another surprising thing is from my nursing school, the school that I went to, that I graduated from, it was two nurses in the there was one nurse in the postpartum unit that worked there, and there was one nurse in the delivery unit that worked there, and they got to see me and help me. They were never my nurse, but they came into the room and like said, hey, and welcome the baby. And that was also like comforting too, to know that it's people that I know and they're like behind the scenes, you know. But yes, y'all, that is my delivery story. It was a lot, and I still have like flashbacks sometimes of it and things that I probably could have did this differently, or what if this would have happened, you know. But all in all, I'm so thankful to have my beautiful, healthy baby boy, and I would completely do it all over again, again and again, to see that precious little face every day. Motherhood is challenging. Motherhood is hard and difficult, but we get through it. We pick ourselves up and we move on with our lives and move on with the day. So if you enjoyed today's video, please give this video a like. Subscribe if you want to follow me along this motherhood journey. Put some recommendations of different videos you would like to see. And I hope y'all have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye.